Mkhwanazi's explosive allegations rocked South Africa. Now, Parliament is investigating. But here's the twist. The investigative committee is chaired by the very party he accused. What's happening with the Parliament investigation? Stick around and find out. Spread the fire. Welcome back to SMWX, or the Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh experience. If you're new around here, I'm Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh, and on this channel, we explore South African politics through interviews and analysis. Well, there's only one place to start. Parliament is investigating the explosive Mkhwanazi allegations through what's called an ad hoc committee, or a committee that's set up for a special purpose. And the committee had its first sitting, and we want to give you all the details, help summarize it for you so that you can see some of the most salient and important features. Now, before I get started on that, help us get to 300,000 subscribers, so please click that subscribe button. Okay, so there were three main things that happened in the ad hoc committee that I want to bring to your attention. The first is, of course, that the committee had to elect a chairperson. Second, that chairperson came from the ANC, which is a big problem, but we'll get to that later. And then finally, there were some skirmishes in the committee about evidence, as well as where the committee should be held and the terms of reference. So let's get into each of those. First, I want to take a look at the election of the chairperson. So have a look at how it went down and the election of Soviet Lekganyane, and we'll explain who he is in more detail after this clip.
I would like to nominate the Honorable Lekganyane as the chairperson of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ntuli. Is there any seconder for the nomination? Honorable Ngango.
Good morning, honorable members, staff of Parliament, members of the media. I hereby second the nomination of Honorable Lekganyane.
Thank you, Honorable Ngango. Honorable Lekganyane, you have been nominated to be the chair of the Adhoc committee. Do you accept the nomination?
Thank you so much. I accept the nomination.
Thank you, Honorable Lekganyane. Is there any further nomination? Any further nomination? I'll go. Thank you, Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. I nominate Honorable Julius Malema.
Thank you, Honorable Skosana. Is there any seconder for the nomination?
Second.
Honorable Nomvalo.
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Bonelo Nomvalo. I hereby second the nomination.
Thank you, Honorable Nomvalo. Honorable Malema, you have been nominated. Do you accept the nomination?
No, thanks for the nomination. I'm not available.
So a couple of things to note here. Let's start with the chairperson, Soviet Lekganyane. He is a veteran politician out of Limpopo. He was the provincial secretary there on, I believe, 2 occasions, and someone who has risen through the ranks, now in the NEC, and obviously a member of parliament as well. So the other thing I wanted to note is that Julius Malema was nominated but declined the nomination, which I found interesting. And he was nominated by MK, and the EFF and MK, were singing very much from the same tune in this committee meeting. But anyway, it transpires that Soviet Lekganyane is elected chairperson of the committee, and a lot of these things happen behind closed doors beforehand, so it was probably a fait accompli. Nonetheless, clearly the ANC worked out some deal where it would get a majority on the committee. And I find this very regrettable, because really the chairperson of this committee, I believe, should have been from an opposition party to preserve its integrity. But this is the way that these ad hoc committees are set up. Now, the ANC has 4 members of the committee, while other parties have the balance of the committee. So the ANC needs to basically get 2 people to vote with the ANC in order for this committee to be able to side with the ANC to get a majority. And the DA has 2 members. So the ANC plus the DA already equals a majority. So I suspect the ANC and the DA worked out this chairpersonship thing before. And there's nothing the opposition parties could do about that. Maybe some other GNU partners jumped in to assist as well. There are also EFF members. I believe there's one EFF member, but there's an alternate member who can represent the EFF. And so Malema was there as the alternate to Leanne Mateis, I believe, or the other way around. So the EFF has those 2 serving. Now, the way it works with the smaller parties is that there's 1 seat, I believe, for the smaller parties, but they're able to rotate that for different alternates. So that's how the ANC was able to get this chairpersonship. They must have cut a deal with at least one other opposition party, and we know it wasn't the EFF or MK, unless the EFF agreed to the ANC chair, which would have been a mistake. So that was the election. The next thing that happened, or the next important point we need to focus on, is a debate which ensued about the election of the chair. Now, there was an interesting moment between Action SA and the ANC. And I want to take you to the Action SA member, Honorable James, who called out the election of an ANC chair and said that this could cast doubt over the credibility of this particular ad hoc committee. And then let's discuss it after that.
That statement was completely out of line based on the allegations that were made by General Mkhwanazi and the office that he holds. But let me also put on record something that isn't sitting well with me, and I just wish to place this on record, since Action SA does not hold any voting rights when it comes to voting for the chairperson. And we speak about gaining public trust, and we speak about this committee putting the public first, and we speak about South Africans' eyes being on us. I don't understand when we say that we need to start off on the right foot. But how do we garner public trust here this morning when we have a chairperson that has been elected from the very party where most of these people are embroiled in? How does that make the public feel to know that today we have a member from the same family?
Yes, I agree. Shout out to Darylene James from Action SA, because she put her finger on it. Absolutely. The ANC is the problem, cited by Mkhwanazi, cited in the state capture report. Why should they chair this committee? Just because they have 4 members, but they're still in the minority on the committee. So what I don't fathom is why opposition parties keep giving ANC back power. You've got a golden opportunity now to have a committee that's led by an opposition politician who can make sure that the right witnesses are called, that people are not defended along party lines. And yes, Soviet Lekganyane may well be a person of integrity and he may try his best, but what happens when Luthuli House puts pressure on him? We saw in the Mkhwebane Commission, for example, the committee, how party lines became obvious. So I just think opposition parties who voted with the ANC again, giving them back this power, are actually doing a disservice to South Africans who, number one, did not give the ANC a majority in the election, and number two, want answers on this committee. And it would have been such a cool move if opposition parties united. And I'm not saying, even if it came from a minority party, just someone who is relatively independent and free from the ANC network of power. It has nothing to do with the individual. It has everything to do with the institutional problem of the party and the fact that these revelations are going to have massive effects on the ANC. And I understand why the ANC tried to get this chairperson, but I can't understand why all these opposition parties didn't unite to make sure that there was a more independent chairperson. I mean, here we see how the ANC defends this role. Let's take a look at what Khusela Sangoni said about James's calling out the ANC taking the chairperson of this committee.
What I wanted to say, Chair, is that we cannot on the very first day want to collapse this process. And if we are going to have members coming here with the intention of being populist and trying to use what is a very, to quote your words, what you said is a grave concern of the people, they use that for cheap political point scoring, then we are going to have a problem. When you made your opening remarks, you said the people of South Africa are looking to us on this process. There will be no stone that is left unturned. And I think that as members, we should conduct ourselves in that manner and not come here and have to defend statements that are made with the intention of garnering attention for cameras. Thank you, Chair.
I mean, I think that's just very unfair. Number one, it wasn't an attempt to collapse the proceedings. It was a good faith pointing out that there is a problem here. The second is, I always find it interesting when politicians accuse other politicians of being political. Well, everyone is being political. It doesn't mean it's cheap point scoring. It means a politician is making a point that has to be engaged with on its merits. And then I'm not sure how that's populist to say the ANC should not be chairperson of the committee. So I found the way the ANC responded to be in bad faith to a genuine concern about the election of the chairperson. Let's see what Julius Malema said in response.
Honorable Malema.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. There's a difference between not being happy with the ANC occupying the position of a chairperson with a person occupying the position of a chairperson. So an impression must never be created that we have a problem with you. We have a problem with the ANC occupying that position. Secondly, you, chairperson, said we are politicians. Since there's no agenda or anything, let's speak. People speak here. When people speak because you open the floor, they are told they are speaking for cameras. As if some people have got a right here to come and give us notes and tell us what to say. We are not just speaking. The chairperson said speak because it's a first meeting. So we express ourselves and all of that, and then we leave.
Yeah, so, I mean, I do think it is correct. You know, I'm just worried. I've been saying this from the start of this thing. Like, I just see the same mistakes being made time and time again. We're going to have an ANC chair and it's all going to look nice at the beginning, but when push comes to shove and when a key decision has to be taken, people aren't going to be sure of the integrity of the outcome. So I'm not blaming the ANC. I mean, again, it's amazing that they've got the chair of this committee. But those opposition parties, I see the PA supported this. Obviously, the DA must have been in support. I'm scratching my head as to how they came to this decision. Okay. So let's move on to the next area of controversy, and that was around questions of evidence. Now, one of the parliamentary legal advisors caused a bit of a stir by saying that what Mkhwanazi said was not evidence in the strict sense. Now, the lawyers may know what he meant, but the politicians did not take kindly to this. I think it was a misunderstanding, but let's have a look at exactly what was said by the legal advisor.
Honorable Sangoni is correct, in saying the witnesses will have to be identified. And of course, Chairperson, I'm saying this with the greatest of respect. What General Mkhwanazi said, Chairperson, on the 6th of July, 2025, is not evidence, Chairperson, in a technical sense.
So this is one of those interesting moments in Parliament, because what we have is a kind of quasi-legal inquiry or a fact-finding inquiry. But on the other hand, we've got this inquiry being led mainly by politicians. And so what's interesting in these situations is that often you have lawyers who don't understand the politics and politicians who don't understand the law. And something gets lost in translation between the two. So what the legal advisor here was saying was actually not technically incorrect. In court, for example, you can't just stand up and say someone made a press conference and therefore, take it forward on that basis. You would bring them into court, you would lead their evidence, you would ask them about their statements, And that would become the record, which would be evidentiary. So, oral testimony under oath is considered evidence for the purposes of a court proceeding, for example. Affidavits or written statements, those kind of things. And in addition, evidence does have to be corroborated. But I'm not going to go into a long legal discourse on the law of evidence. Because when you say that in a parliamentary committee, what the politicians hear is, well, it doesn't mean anything, it's not credible. And that's not what the legal advisor probably was saying. It is evidence in the general sense of the term of it helps to support a conclusion. It's just not the same kind of legal evidence that's often considered in legal proceedings. So, of course, it's evidence, and of course it matters, and of course it has in the broad sense, an evidentiary. That's why the commission was set up, right, based on those comments. But anyway, the politicians did not take kindly to that, and they proceeded to lay into this legal advisor, saying that he was basically attacking Mkhwanazi. So let's have a look at what was said in response.
I was a bit disturbed as well, like my colleagues, the remark by the legal team, and I'm still saying again, Chair, in our joint sitting, the chief legal advisor is not here even today. Now for me, it's like, I'm not sure, maybe it's the chair of the Justice Committee knows why he's not here, I'm not sure, but the issue is that the chief legal advisor again is not here, and we've raised that in the joint sitting. And for me, it's disturbing that in this serious meeting where we are told there's legal advice, but the guy who's leading them is not here, or the lady who's leading them is not here. And the question is why, Chair? Next time this thing must not happen. If they want to work with us, and they should not, guide us. Like our own members have already said, that what Mkhwanazi said is not evidence, it's disturbing. Then why are we here? Are we here for gossiping?
So that's MKMP Mandla Skosana. Let's see what, again, Julius Malema had to say.
We didn't come here to play, we came here ready. And I don't know what is this remark that General Mkhwanazi is not what he presented is not evidence. I don't know where does that arise, because it doesn't arise at all. We're just trying to get an advice on how those things can be dealt with. General Mkhwanazi, you can't say what he presented is not evidence. We'll deal with that. We're still dealing with terms of reference. We can't start by saying General Mkhwanazi, what he said is not evidence. That's very dismissive. Right at the beginning, we're starting on a wrong footing.
Cool. So, to clarify, what Mkhwanazi said obviously matters. It will lead to evidence being led before the ad hoc committee, evidence being led before the commission. If there are court proceedings, it may well lead to evidence being led there. So it matters, but as in and of itself, it would not be enough in legal proceedings, because you would need to cross-examine the evidence, you would need to lead further evidence around it, etc. So I think it was just a misunderstanding around the standard of evidence that's needed. It's not that what Mkhwanazi said does not matter, that it may not even point to the truth, but the ad hoc committee will need nonetheless to scrutinize that evidence via certain legal means. So, when we take a step back, this committee also had a few debates about where it's going to sit. They might go and sit in Gauteng at the beginning and then come back to Cape Town. But we saw, in conclusion, the opening salvo from various political parties. We saw the election of an ANC chairperson. We saw some disputes about Mkhwanazi's statements. But most importantly, we saw a deeper debate about parliamentary accountability and the extent to which political parties who are elected based on the will of the electorate, but nonetheless also have certain political allegiances, the extent to which they can be seen as objective, especially when it comes to allegations of corruption that could rock those very political parties. And we saw a fascinating debate about whether Soviet Lekganyane should in fact be the chairperson of this committee. Well, he is the chairperson of this committee, and it will be fascinating to see exactly how much scrutiny this committee will give to the Mkhwanazi allegations. Let's hope they can unearth some further revelations, some further findings that will inform South Africans about whether indeed criminal syndicates have taken hold of our state, our criminal justice system, and indeed our democracy. Help us get to 300,000 subscribers. If you're listening on podcast platforms, give us a rating. Go and subscribe over on podcast platforms. By the way, we have a new Instagram account. Go and check out SMWX Clips on Instagram. Follow there if you like short form video content. Please help us get Prince Mashele to 1 million views. Go now from this video and go and watch the Prince Mashele interview. If you've watched it, just watch it again for control. Just watch it ngenkani, because we are SMWX family and we are marching towards 300,000 subscribers. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. See you on the next one. Aye.